Since the early 1990s, Kenyans have witnessed a devastating cycle of school fires and unrest that has claimed the lives of at least 183 learners. Each tragedy has been followed by public outrage, investigations, and promises that such a disaster would never happen again. Commission after commission, task force after task force, recommendation after recommendation. Yet more than 3 decades later, the same failures continue to emerge. Why do school fires keep happening? And who should be held accountable for recommendations that experts say were never fully implemented? Our reporter David Muthoka examines more than 30 years of government inquiries and asks why Kenya, the country, keeps learning the same questions after every tragedy.
The first major warning came in 1991 when 19 girls died during the St. Kizito tragedy in Meru, prompting the government to establish the Kirima Commission to investigate the causes of school unrest. The commission, chaired by Professor Lawrence G. Kirima, found that unrest was not simply a discipline problem, but the result of weak school leadership, poor communication between students and school administrators, inadequate guidance and counseling, unresolved student grievances, and overstretched boarding schools. Among its far-reaching recommendations was the separation of boys and girls boarding schools, arguing that mixed boarding institutions posed unique management and safety challenges. It also called for stronger guidance and counseling, better dialogue between students and school management, improved leadership training for principals, and early mechanisms to identify and resolve grievances before they escalated into violence. 7 years later, 26 students died in the Bombululu Girls Secondary School fire. The Bishop Lawi Matthew Task Force shifted the focus to school fire safety, finding that many dormitories lacked basic safety features, emergency preparedness plans, and adequate supervision. It recommended outward opening doors, unlocked emergency exits, fire extinguishers and alarms in every school, regular fire drills, routine inspections, and stricter enforcement against overcrowding and unsafe buildings. 3 years later, the Changuli Secondary School fire claimed 67 lives, the deadliest dormitory fire in the country's history. The Wangai Task Force concluded that growing examination pressure, weak counseling services, poor student welfare, authoritarian leadership, drug abuse, and limited parental involvement were contributing to unrest in schools. It recommended expanding guidance and counseling, improving mental health support, strengthening communication between students and school management, reducing academic pressure, and involving parents more closely in learners' welfare.
Anyone would have thought with the Changuli boys tragedy, no other fire would have happened in any school in this country. So very unfortunate that so many years later, we've had many fires. In 2024, just very recently, we had Endarasha school fire. We had more than 20 boys perishing in that fire tragedy. And recently, Utumishi girls, where we had 16 girls dying. And I dare ask, how many lives do we have to lose in school fires for the government to take action?
When unrest spread to nearly 300 schools in 2008, Parliament investigated why previous reforms had failed. The Education Committee found that routine school inspections had weakened, communication between learners and administrators had broken down, and many recommendations from earlier commissions had not been implemented.
I know of a case of an institution where the MOE officers were sent to inspect the dormitories. They went and found that the dormitories were not congested. But prior to their visit, the students had been relocated to a hall temporarily. And when the MOE came to the MOE officers came to check out if the dormitories are decongested, they truly found that the dormitories are decongested. But after they left, the students were evacuated from the hall and taken back to the dormitories. So if the MOE could have come frequently, or probably they should come abruptly without informing the institution that they are coming, so that they can know the real thing in the ground.
It recommended restoring effective inspections, strengthening oversight, and improving accountability within schools.
The biggest recommendation that Elimu Bora has been pushing for is the formation of the Quality Assurance Council, which is going to be responsible to ensure that actually our learners are learning in safe environments. The formation of this council would have allowed an independent team to be looking at our institutions and giving recommendations where they feel like the standards have not been met.
In 2016, another wave of unrest affected more than 130 schools across the country. The Clear Omolo Committee identified weak leadership, poor communication, examination pressure, inadequate counseling, drug abuse, and copycat behavior as some of the main drivers of unrest. It recommended stronger grievance resolution mechanisms, better conflict management, enhanced guidance and counseling, improved intelligence gathering, and closer collaboration between schools, parents, and security agencies.
The first and most important thing is for parents to know how the school is being managed. Do they have those committees that are important to ensure that the welfare of the children are being catered for? Something as simple as just knowing who are the board members in that school, who is the representative of the class. When you go, are you able to demand that you're able to see where your child is going to be accommodated? It's really important, because I feel like at times we are holding our children in death traps.
Barely a year later, 10 students died in the Moi Girls School fire in Nairobi. The National School Fire Safety Task Force produced 68 recommendations, including mandatory annual fire safety audits, smoke detectors and fire alarms, regular evacuation drills, unlocked dormitory exits, stricter compliance with building standards, and stronger enforcement by education authorities. Many of those recommendations echoed proposals first made about 2 decades earlier.
Most of the commissions have not told us anything new. Every commission will tell you what the previous commission said, that corridors should be safe for evacuation of learners in case of danger, safety standards should be ensured. All this is what commissions will tell you. The question of implementation has obviously been wanting.
Different governments, different task forces, yet remarkably similar findings and recommendations. The question was no longer what needed to be done, but why similar solutions kept being proposed after each tragedy.
The pattern continued. 21 children died in the Hillside Endarasha Academy fire in 2024. Then in 2026, 16 students lost their lives in the Utumishi Girls Academy fire, where investigators concluded the blaze was an act of arson. The tragedy has once again prompted the formation of another government inquiry expected to recommend measures aimed at preventing future school fires.
We want all of us as stakeholders in the education sector, from parents, from the government, from teachers, from the people in the religious sector and sponsors, to come together so that we can ensure that we get a solution to this perennial problem that is affecting our children.
The CS of education has failed. The current CS has failed the Utumishi Girls, because the fires are happening when laws are very clear that the mandate to ensure, and of course the oversight role, resting with the Ministry of Education to ensure that our schools are safe, they are secure, and that learners can enjoy the highest level of security within learning institutions.
The MOE, or rather the Cabinet Secretary for Education at the moment, is not duly performing his duty as he should be. We see him going to political rallies, which is really not part of his job. And probably he's failing because he's not putting enough focus on what he should be. So I would say they're not doing what they should be doing, or rather they're not doing enough.
An analysis by NTV of 6 major commissions and task forces spanning more than 3 decades reveals a striking pattern. Despite being conducted by different experts under different administrations, the reports repeatedly identified weak leadership, poor communication, inadequate guidance and counseling, weak inspections, overcrowded dormitories, and poor emergency preparedness as recurring failures. The recommendations were equally consistent: strengthen counseling, improve dialogue between students and administrators, enforce safety standards, conduct regular inspections and fire drills, improve emergency preparedness, and hold institutions accountable for compliance.
The biggest lesson that is coming out is there is failure from the school management to be able to ensure that the school safety manual is followed to the letter, because the recommendations are there. They're even telling, they're even guiding on how the sleeping bed spaces should be, how a dormitory should look, how windows should look, the doors. They're really giving instructions on how everything should be done.
A school can educate a child, but it cannot raise one. It cannot raise your child. Be present in your children's lives. Know their friends. Understand their struggles. Walk beside them every milestone and every season. Let us recover the wisdom of African parenting, where no child belonged to one household alone, but to the whole community.
More than 30 years after St. Kizito, the country has never been short of investigations or recommendations. The challenge, however, according to experts, is not what to do, but finding the resolve to do it before school fires claim more young lives. David Muthoka, NTV, Nairobi.